I talked about this a lot, and of course, Brexit doesn't just have an impact on Great Britain, also on our economy here in Germany, and I talked about it several times. In the cities here, we have chambers of crafts that, as the name suggests, take care of the need of the crafts businesses here. And I was recently at a very interesting conversation at our local Chamber of Crafts about future topics. And the German Chamber of Crafts has now published a very interesting publication about the opportunities for German craftsmen in Great Britain after Brexit. And it provides some very interesting examples, and that's what I want to bring to you today. And they start the whole thing in Scotland. Edinburgh and Glasgow, the largest cities in the north of Great Britain, are similar. Anyone who looks at the buildings around Edinburgh's Grassmarket below the castle can easily see the enormous need for investment. Window paint is peeling there, the houses have no energy-saving renovations, so the market for craftsmen is large, or better say huge. But what are the chances for German specialist companies here? Scotland is not quite there yet. Purchasing power is significantly lower than in the rest of Great Britain. That was said by Marie-Therese Sobik, foreign trade advisor at the Düsseldorf Chamber. But one thing is certain, given the ambitious climate goals, Scotland will sooner or later become a market for companies, especially from Germany. They already earn money in Birmingham or the West Midlands, a good 30% more than they earn in Germany, by the way. After the Benelux countries, Great Britain is a popular destination for German craft companies because of the shortages there. They benefit from the weakness of British craftsmen who do not have the depth or training or expertise that German master craftsmen and journeymen have. Whether it's restorers working for the National Trust, dental technicians renovating British dentures, or German plumbers bringing bathrooms up to comfortable living standards, the jobs for German craftsmen are practically on the street, if you want to say it that way. This is also confirmed by Thomas Fröhlich, a construction expert for passive houses who has been living in Scotland for several years. If the local craftsmen don't know what's important in energy-efficient construction, then it simply won't go any further, he says. Marie-Therese Sobik sees prospects for German medium-sized companies in Great Britain, although a good strategy is essential when operating abroad. I can only advise every company that plans to go abroad to prepare intensively, she says. Britain has changed over the past few decades from manufacturing and manufactured goods to trading and services. And there is a problem. There is a lack of appropriate skilled workers, especially in commercial professions. In 2004, the Scottish government launched a Fresh Talent initiative to bring skilled workers to Scotland. The program is aimed at workers from abroad, especially Polish workers at the time. Students, returnees, entrepreneurs and workers from Scotland itself were another part. Experts estimate that several 100,000 Polish tradesmen are working across the UK still. The declared aim of the Fresh Talent initiative is to create attractive conditions for well-trained specialists in order to qualify, retain and recruit workers in Scotland or from abroad. And this is intended to counteract demographic change and migration. It takes at least a good year of planning time to familiarize yourself with the special features of the market. No entrepreneur can land on the other side of the channel with any offers. The special know-how of German companies must be showcased there. When producing advertising materials, for example, it's important to pay attention to small things such as a British telephone number, even if only to divert calls to the German craftsman's cell phone. Companies that work in Ireland, Scotland or England know that cooperation with British colleagues makes a lot of things easier. Craftsmen can make such contacts at trade fairs in Great Britain, and every year companies can make good contacts at the island's largest construction trade fair, that's the EcoBuild. We help with such initiations and regularly offer business trips, matching and support at trade fairs, they say. North Rhine-Westphalian International, as the foreign trade promotion agency of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, also facilitates the start in Great Britain, reports Marie-Therese Sobik. And Christian Kohnen, owner of a carpentry shop with 6 employees, has already completed several foreign assignments on the island. In 2008, he worked north of London. The German quality standard is much higher, only the customers don't know us. After work, the British were impressed, and now they are no longer the small craftsmen. The bankers also treated them as equals, he said. And the numbers speak for themselves. He has now tripled his sales in Great Britain. And Kohn is ready to take other craftsmen with him as cooperation partners. It's worth it, even for smaller orders. Georg Haas has been working with his building services company in Great Britain since mid-2006. The British are certainly affected by the financial crisis at the time, and the gigantic construction boom was over at the time. But there is still a shortage of skilled workers, and there is a need for house renovations. Haas works primarily in 1- and 2-family homes and recommends that all colleagues only work against advance payment, even though payment practices in Great Britain are by no means bad. Haas knows that good preparation is essential. And the plumbing contractor took courses at the Chamber of Crafts during the planning phase. You can get by with the basics of the language, however, you should take a course for business English, he says. The bureaucracy is also an issue beyond the channel. German entrepreneurs cannot avoid some certificates. Anyone who wants to install gas systems must register with the Gas Safe Register and complete a 1-week course. And Falco Burkert, the unmistakable Swabian, actually just wanted to visit friends in Great Britain, but he fell in love with Scotland's beauty. That was 12 years ago. And today, the young pastry chef runs a cafe in Edinburgh and the Scottish coastal town of, don't kill me for mispronouncing, Gullen. Falco Burkert started in the catering industry initially in hotels until he finally set up a stand at Edinburgh's farmers market and offered baked goods. And I know the discussion about German bread versus a British one. People asked us where we sell bread and cake when we are not at the market, says Burkert, because there's no other decent bread here, he says. And I know he's right. In Great Britain, the population eats slices similar to toast manufactured industrially, of course. And Falco Burkert has had a proper shop on Brunsfield Place for many years now, and now also has a proper bakery in Gullen. He had to get there step by step, of course, and after Brexit it's a bit more difficult, but not that much. At first he worked very modestly on 20 square meters. The trade inspectorate gave him stress because he didn't have a special hand-washing sink, and he cleaned out the bakery on Sundays so that he could even offer cafe space. And the Scots and the numerous Germans who live in the north of the country wanted his bread and cake above all else. And even the Jewish community ordered kosher bread from Falco Burkert. Well, a master craftsman here in Germany is flexible. The business is growing. His normal day lasts 18 hours and he's always looking for good staff. People often come from Germany because they are simply better educated. But there's one of the problems after Brexit now. Burkert is, so to speak, the exporter of the dual vocational training system. He experiences in daily practice what people like to talk about in this country. There is no apprenticeship as a confectioner or a baker like we have it here. Burkert can tell you a thing or two about how difficult it is to work with British craftsmen, but also service providers. Falco has declared war on the British cake of horror, as he says. Everything was quickly slapped together, way too fat and way too sweet. His apprentices learned from the ground up and just handmade baked goods. Of course, the young people present themselves in proper confectioner's clothing. That has to be the case. That is his work philosophy and craft tradition. Now there are pretzels, strawberry and black forest cakes, rye bread and so on and so on and so on. He doesn't buy flour on the island, though, because it doesn't have the necessary quality, but rather in Germany. And he doesn't buy almonds in Scottish shops either. If you don't believe that such a working day can be fun, you should have a look at Falco Burkhardt, as I heard. And I heard that this is the best advertisement for crafts. Freedom is boundless above the clouds, it said. And so not only Reinhard May, which sang a famous German song about this, but also Norbert Schwarz can speak a lot about this. The master roofer and head of a 10-man company is active with his company on the British market in England, Scotland, and outside Britain in Ireland as well. He flies to the construction sites in his own plane. He says, "I'm a perfectionist and want to be as independent as possible." And they interviewed him in a restaurant at an airport, of course. His plane is stationed in Mönchengladbach in Germany and in Dienstlaken, and he talks about his experiences over coffee and says, "I wanted to become active in the USA originally and set up a branch there," he says. But that didn't work. He was later invited to a business trip to Great Britain by the foreign trade advisor at the Düsseldorf Chamber of Crafts. And that was the starting signal for his involvement there. In England, he then consciously paid attention to the roofs. So I thought, damn it, you don't need to go to the USA. There's enough to do here. And he immediately made his first contacts. At the beginning, however, you have to be modest and win people's trust and create a certain basis with which you can identify. And he did that. With ups and downs, he has been working in the kingdom for years. In 2008, I didn't have a single order there, he said, but I was there again and again, showed myself again and again, continued to make contacts. Now it's paying off. After the big slump during the economic crisis, things were looking up again. But he is still on his plane thing. But that also got more complicated now. I have many more examples for you like this. If you want, I can add them in another live stream. But those were all people that started in the UK before Brexit. All in the between the 2000s and the 2010s. And the quality of German craftsmanship hasn't changed. It's we have a shortage of people here even for some of those crafts as well because of the demographic change. But the vocational training here in Germany is really high class. And you see that when you see the work of these people. And that's why I understand why there was such a big demand in the UK already at that time. After Brexit, it will look even very differently, because for hiring craftsmen from Germany, it's even more complicated now. A company is still used to bureaucracy. Even when Britain was a member of the EU, they had a lot of paperwork to do when they wanted to set up shop in the UK. But when you hired a person from another EU country, it was no problem. They could just move there, get their national insurance card, and that's it. Now they need a visa that's expensive for the single person and so on. And that's why it's still a good thing for German companies to go to the UK with their own people, because they can do the whole visa stuff, etc. As a company, and they work on the contracts there. And for the company, it's still possible. Of course, if you bring machinery and everything, the same applies as to the musicians. We talked about this a lot, but the demand is big. And I used to live in the UK, so I know what houses look like and how different they are to the way we build here in Germany in many cases. And the older ones, about the insulation and all of this, there's still a lot of demand. And the companies, even SMEs, can make a lot of money by going over there. So Brexit, that caused workers living there from the EU to leave, gives a very good opportunity for German companies to come there to do this work where workers are lacking, because they can deal with the visas for their people more easily, and they will do with all the customs regulations on the equipment they need. But they will be able to make good money still. So for German companies that are working in the crafts and are going to the UK, this is not a bad thing at all. And so at some points, it's good to talk about these parts as well. Of course, in general, Germany would have been much happier if the UK hasn't left, because everything would still be easy. I have a lot of friends in the UK, and all this, there is a lot of fuss, even if you're visiting friends and stuff like this. And they want to still buy German stuff in the UK. And with the new checks finally coming in the next year, if they come, that will get more and more expensive. So we have to look for at least some light at the end of the tunnel in talking about Brexit, because I don't always want to talk about all these natural downsides of it. But there are some, as I talked about Australia, they are having a really advantage, and they are the winner of Brexit so far from all the developments we've seen. And some German companies will do very good because of Brexit as well. But in the end, Brexit will never be a success, and we must all live with it. But we have to look at the best ways to deal with it. And that's why I wanted to make a video like this. The Chambers of Crafts brought tons of more of examples of people that went to the UK because they did a lot of on demand. And I was happy when I was living in the UK that I had a German bakery there too, because the bread thing is really a thing. If you are from anywhere on this planet and have never eaten German bread, if you ever come to Germany, the first thing you need to do is to try German bread. That makes a very big difference. And if you already have visited Germany and tried German bread or got German bread in another country, let me know in the comments, please, what you think about this, because I know a lot of YouTubers that are traveling or that came to Germany to work here or to study here. And whenever they talk about German bakery stuff, that's the biggest fun. If they're from USA, from Britain or whatever, or Japan even, that's always a big topic. So let me know if that is something you experience too. And if you want to see another video, the next one is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.